So, season 5, episode 1 of Insecure. This is the final season, and these are going to be unpack videos all season long that are just going to talk about things worthy of unpacking. So, let's just jump in. All right, first topic that comes to mind is when they all get to Stanford for the class reunion, the 10-year class reunion. There's this character or this person, this friend named Cheyenne. Cheyenne is straight up ratchet. She is doing the most. She is twerking. She is saying rap lines out loud, using the N word. They greet her like, this is my bitch and this is my, all hyped up and like, whoa. And I'm like, this is not realistic. This is not realistic. I do not think that these black people who not only went to a predominantly white school, they went to an Ivy League predominantly white school. And I think it is unrealistic that they're in mixed company, okay? Because how they greeted each other, if it were just us, I could see those of us who turn up that way, we would do that with no problem, not even thinking about it twice. But I find it hard to believe that these black alums would go to Stanford's 10-year class reunion and act that way amongst all of these white people. I don't think in the real world that that is likely to happen. Now, the interesting thing about that, though, is we could say, well, why not? Why do we have to not be, for people who behave that way, why do we have to not be who we are amongst white people? Now, y'all know why we do the code switching and we do all of that. There could be an argument made to say that is a problem, that we shouldn't have to, monitor our behavior just because they are in the room. That could definitely be an argument. It could be an argument along those same lines of, we are tired of living through the white gaze. We can authentically behave how we choose to behave. And if those black people behave that way when they see each other, why do they have to act differently when they're in front of white people? So I'm just saying, I think the scene was unrealistic because I think the overwhelming majority of us, especially those of us who went to a predominantly white institution, not to mention an Ivy League predominantly white institution, we would not act like that in front of the white people. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree? If you agree with me, do you think that that situation is fucked up, meaning the need to change or tone down our behavior because they are around, white people are around in that type setting? Or do you believe that maybe, hey, yeah, we understand the rules of engagement in that situation where we would choose not to act that way because of, we don't want to act that way in front of them? Or do you think that's just all the way fucked up and you're going to act the way you want to act? You and your friends are going to act the way you want to act, regardless of who's in the room. What do you feel about what that scene represented? Next to unpack, let's jump into what might also be considered fuckery, and that is your boy Omari. Now, Omari, to me, I was just like, Molly, don't even think about it, okay? He does not look like a good option to me. He looks like a bad decision. Curious to know if you guys see it the same. And I say that because he's recently divorced. Molly is recently out of her situation. And we have been with Molly now for a while. And we know all that she's been through trying to achieve some kind of stability or a healthy relationship. It hasn't worked out. So this Omari dude, I have a feeling we're going to see him more in this season. But I think this is a situation where Molly really needs to move forward. Don't go back to not any dude from her past. This guy, Omari, he may look, all that he's looking, because, he was a nice looking guy, dark skin. Yeah. But just because y'all used to kick it back in the day does not mean y'all need to hook up now. And I think she needs to leave that in the past. Okay? I just think, leave it in the past. Too much potential for drama. And I think Molly has had enough of that already. So, do you think this is a situation where just move forward? Just move forward. Sometimes the past can look like a good option when you're going through stuff, but is it really? So guys, we got to talk about our girl Kelly. They done killed Kelly. Somebody killed Kelly. She's in the memoriam section at the class reunion. And you could tell that really bothered her. So what was interesting about this to me, Kelly is that girl who's always making everybody laugh. She's cutting up. She's carefree. She's silly. But homegirl was really disturbed to see what she was being remembered for when people thought she was dead. And you could tell that she was really bothered by that. And we don't normally see that about Kelly. Quite frankly, we don't really know a lot about Kelly. When she realized what people were saying about her in memory of her, I think that was like a wake-up call to her. I don't think in this situation that is necessarily where her friends have like let her down by not checking on her or not really knowing what's going on with her. I think when somebody presents like all the time, like, I'm good, I'm happy, I'm cutting up, I'm jokes, I'm just Kelly, that people don't see that you might be struggling. But again, I don't know if Kelly was actually struggling. I think this thing of people thinking you're dead and these are the things they're saying about you, I think that triggered an awareness in her, something she may not have even been consciously aware of, as far as, is this what I'm giving the world for people to think this of me if they thought I had died? I think it's really Kelly realizing that she needs something more from herself, because until this moment, when people were remembering her for the stanky leg and she always had nice purses, I think that was like a realization for her of like, what am I doing with my life? And so whereas in Insecure, we've always seen, Issa struggle with the career and the relationships, and Molly struggle with the relationships. We've never really seen Kelly struggle with anything, because she's always giving us, I'm fun, I'm happy, I'm carefree. So we'll see where that goes. So let's unpack the biggest relationship drama on Insecure. And no, I am not talking about Issa and Lawrence. I am talking about Issa and Molly. We see that they are still struggling to repair their friendship. They are even a little bit awkward around each other because they're not back to where they used to be. And it was funny when Molly was talking with Kelly and she was like, well, how long did it take for you and old girl, to get back to normal after y'all had problems? And Kelly was like, we were fake back for a while before we were back. And I love what Insecure gives us with Molly and Issa, because it feels real and it feels complicated, kind of complications we often experience in our tight relationships with our girlfriends. And I think what is making this so hard for Issa and Molly is because they were so tight, they were ride or die, and then that bond was broken, the trust was broken, they couldn't depend on each other like they used to, they started to grow apart, they started to be very judgmental of each other, and things just fell apart, lines were crossed that shouldn't be crossed, and it is hard to recover from that. And I feel the closer you are to the person, sometimes the harder it is to bounce back. Now, in this situation, I think they're going to be fine. I think when Shy's crazy ass set up the robbery, and it was very traumatic and all, and then when Molly and Issa got back in the car, they just, maybe it was a nervous reaction, but they were laughing and they were joking on each other about how each of them reacted. And it really felt like the ice was being broken in order for them to get comfortable with each other and just be like who they used to be to each other. So I am going to be interested to see where their relationship goes. I think when women are really, really good friends and something happens to break that relationship, I do think it's hard to recover. And I think even when both people sometimes want to, even when both people want to recover, sometimes it could just be hard to do. And I don't know if it's because the relationship was so deep, you trusted the person so much that it makes it difficult to get back because of the hurt, even after you've talked about it, or, even maybe you both think we worked through it, but did you? So I'm curious to see how this works out. I personally have had a relationship with a good best friend who was close to me like a sister. There was a rift between us. We talked about it, but we never did get back, as Kelly said. We're still friends to this day. I check on her, she checks on me, but we never got back. So when there's a rift sometimes between good girlfriends, it's hard. It's hard. It can be hard to recover. The last thing we're going to talk about is Issa and Lawrence. Season 5, episode 1 ends with Lawrence picking up Issa from the airport. They're having conversation, but it feels a little off, but they're having conversation. And at the end of it, of course, Issa, without saying too much, basically lets him know this isn't going to work. He, without saying it directly, also says, I understand, and they go their separate ways. Now, y'all, I really want Issa and Lawrence to work out. But this is a dilemma. Issa is trying to decide, do I want this situation in my life? Lawrence and Issa were together for a long time. They had the conversations about our future family. One day we might get married. One day we'll probably get married. That's why we're living together. So all of the things that were supposed to be future were supposed to be theirs. But now it's going to be theirs and Condola and the baby. That is a lot to accept. It's one thing when you meet somebody and they already have kids. That's totally different. But when somebody that you were with for so long, where the future was supposed to be you and me, the family, the kids were supposed to be me, you, and our kids, we break up, we find our way back to each other, we are in love, we are realizing now based on who we are now, because they needed to separate, but who they are now is perfect. But now we have this situation. And she has to decide if she's okay with that. It's really almost like a Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union situation. She has to decide if that's what she wants as a part of her future. Would it be good for her to take a chance on Lawrence and make it work? Or do you think she should move forward? I don't know the answer. I can tell you this though. My heart wants Lawrence and Issa to work it out. That scene at the end was so intense. I felt watching that scene the same way I felt when I was watching Love and Basketball when she was like, I'll play you for your heart. It was giving me that. So I want them to work it out. It could still work. The baby doesn't have to be a deal breaker. But for some in this situation, it is. So what outcome do you want to see? Check in with me next week for an Unpack video of episode 2. Bye.